Olga, I'm going to start off with you. First of all, explain when we talk about the economic impact of creative industries in the city of Detroit. I think sometimes when we talk about this next resurgence and chapter of Detroit, we're not really thinking about creative industries or supporting them. What does that really mean?
Well, people often have a limited view of what it means. And what we've been trying to do at the Detroit Creative Corridor Center is really expand that view. So it includes arts and galleries and things that people can relate to, but also includes real jobs producing opportunities, whether it's architecture, film and video, folks who do graphic design. I think when you start to look at people who do product, I mean it's everywhere. And when you really start to peel back most of our traditional industries in the city, you can find the roots of creativity and design, companies in those sectors helping to support them.
And Rick, I mean, Detroit has a very storied history when it comes to design. Give us a little bit of fill us in on that.
Well, you could really say that Detroit's industrial history was kind of driven by design, although it goes back so far that it started before the word design really came into vogue. But industrial design is the area that involves designing automobiles, designing just about every kind of product that we have in our lives, whether it's our electronic devices or kitchen appliances or athletic shoes. That's all part of industrial design. And Detroit is really the birthplace of industrial design because back in the early 1930s, General Motors brought a guy named Harley Earl from the West Coast to Detroit to start what they then called the art and color section. And that kind of immediately shows you the connection between art and what today we call design. And Harley Earl is really the first true designer in the auto industry and developed a lot of the techniques that are still used today in the design of automobiles, and then those techniques and methodologies have spread to all other kinds of fields that we call design today.
All right, so we fast forward to where we are in Detroit today, and this week you launched kind of like a 10-year vision for what the next chapter of the city is going to be like in terms of design and in terms of those creative industries, Olga. So explain what possibly is a 10-year plan and what does that look like?
Right. So in December, Detroit was designated a UNESCO City of Design by the United Nations Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization, and we're the only one in the United States to receive this designation, one of 22 cities around the world and part of a 116 member network of cities that are committed to using creativity to drive their city's future. So to your point, Christy, what does that mean? What we want to do, when we've looked at the other cities of design that have had real economic impacts, grown jobs, increased the number of firms, seen the creative sectors really develop, they've had a single vision. They've come around either entrepreneurship or placemaking, something that can help organize all their efforts. And what we launched this week was really just the starting point. We're going to take the next 9 to 12 months to work across our community to really build what that vision is. What is it that's unique about Detroit, our assets and our opportunities that can help pull us all together around that singular vision so that people in academia, people in industry, community, policymakers can contribute their activities towards realizing that vision.
So Rick, what are some of the things that you're starting to hear from people saying, okay, now is when we start to take a look, these are some of the things that must be in place for Detroit when we start talking about it?
Well, certainly we're going to, as Olga said, we're going to build on the assets that we have. So we already have some things in place, like we have a very strong education in creative fields. We have a very strong creative sector, but as you suggested, not as visible as it needs to be. We do think there needs to be a big educational component to this because design is still a very esoteric subject, and people need to understand how it really affects and infects our lives, infects in a good way, and how it can be used as a powerful tool to effect change and to improve the quality of people's lives. So we have to spend a lot of time kind of educating people what the potential is here, and then the other piece that's really important is participation. If this is not a broad-based initiative that brings a lot of people together, both people who are already kind of initiated into the world of design and people who come to learn about it and see how it can be useful. If we don't do that, then it will not be a successful initiative.
So you're looking for a lot of input then from everybody kind of across a lot of different communities, because I think when you talk about this next chapter of what Detroit can be,
Right.
and that means a lot of things to a lot of different people, that you have to be careful to make sure that you do hear from a lot of different sides.
Absolutely right. Particularly critical, I think, as we develop this initiative, is to be clear that this is not just a downtown midtown initiative. It's not, a young urban professionals initiative. This is really about making Detroit a better place for everyone who lives there. It's about bringing design thinking and design methodology out to neighborhoods, getting people in the neighborhoods involved in many, many different ways, and hopefully making it a device by which we can unify the city.
Olga, talk a little bit about the inclusion, because I know you were nodding vigorously with Rick.
Yeah, as Rick says, this ultimately has to be about design. If we really want Detroit to be a city of design, people need to be able to run into design in their everyday lives and feel empowered to use the tools of design when they're thinking about solving solving problems in their neighborhood or creating new opportunities. And so it's hard. I think it's hard for people if you're not an insider. You might often think about design simply from kind of the visual. How does a car look? How does this product look? What does a building look like? But design is also about people and process, and so that is, as Rick mentioned, helping to educate people about what that means and how they can use design processes for everyday things, for social impact, is going to be a big part of this initiative. So we're really hoping that this year's Design Festival can draw that broad audience. It'll take place September 22nd through 24th, mostly headquartered in Eastern Market. And what we want to do is have the whole theme of the festival be around this idea of what does it take for design to drive our future, and really have a broad audience interact with those themes, and start the juices going around what this could mean, and continue that throughout the year with a variety of events.
So give me an idea of what the next steps are going to be here for you.
So we're hoping to really start the conversation going in September by having people interact with design, provoking a lot of discussions, bringing some leading thinkers from both our community but also from the other UNESCO cities to come to the festival and really start this community discussion. And then after that, we're going to continue this visioning process using our monthly Drinks by Design. Every month we have, on the second Thursday of the month, we do an event that highlights a design discipline. Next month is architecture, and the theme is diversity in design. It'll be taking place at the Charles H. Wright on the second Thursday. But using those Drinks by Design to really pull, again, this cross-section of people together to dive deep into a discipline and to start to think both about what are the global trends and the economic trends we should be thinking about, but what are the values and viewpoints of our community, and how do we bring those things together to create a vision? So that process will it'll take us some time, right, to be inclusive and to be collaborative. It'll take some time, but hopefully this time next year we'll be much closer to being able to answer your question. What does this look like for Detroit over 10 years? That's the starting point as we then create a platform for people to plug their own projects and initiatives into.
Interesting, Rick, you talk about making sure you have input from people and in the neighborhoods and how they would envision what their city is going to look like. I would also think that a lot of conversations are very interesting having with the business investors in the city, because they're the ones that have the capital right now, and we're bringing in the business and saying, oh, well, this could look like this, or maybe the skyline could look like this. What are those conversations like that you're having?
Well, I think that it's important to see that this is in part an economic development initiative. It's very consistent with the mission of the Creative Carter Center, the Detroit Creative Carter Center that Olga is the leader of. We have been hoping since the creation of the Creative Carter Center to attract more creative businesses, to attract more creative professionals to the city as a way to create jobs. And you take a company like Shinola. That's a prime example of what the Creative Carter Center is about and what the City of Design Initiative is about, trying to attract businesses or start businesses here that rely on creativity, that rely on design. So that's really what I think the conversation in the business community is about right now. How can we make Detroit as friendly a place possible for these kinds of businesses, which then have a kind of ripple effect into other kinds of economic activity throughout the city? We think that we want to make creativity kind of a core value of the city and a core component of the city's image, because we think that's attractive to job-creating businesses of all different kinds.
Final thought here, Olga.
Yeah, and we're already seeing it. I mean, we're seeing people who are starting to ask questions. So what is the city of design? I'm coming from Portland. I'm coming from Europe. And there's something interesting happening in Detroit. And by really elevating what design and creativity means for our city's value proposition, I think we're going to see a lot more people wanting to become part of it. But there's a huge opportunity for people who are here already to also to elevate and embrace it. I mean, one of the Peter Cummings, who's involved with the initiative, really spoke to the fact that this is about sustainable and equitable development throughout our city, and design can be a powerful force for that. And so we're going to start to see the impact and the results when we start to see those results in our neighborhoods, and we start to see Detroit's brand really associated with this initiative.
Okay, Olga Stella from DC3 and Richard Rogers from CCS. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.